Today in our 2014 Audi A4, we're going to be installing EcoHitch's hidden trailer hitch receiver, part number 306-X7324. And this is what our hitch is going to look like when it's installed. As you can see, the cross tube is going to be completely hidden behind the bumper, so you're just going to be able to see the receiver tube sticking out the end here. It's a Class 3 2-inch by 2-inch hitch receiver. It's going to be great for all of your towing needs. From trailers to bike racks to cargo carriers, it'll handle anything. It uses a 5/8" hitch pin and clip. Now, one doesn't come included with this hitch, but you can pick one up here at etrailer.com with part number PC3. Features small plate style safety chain loops. And these little loops here are going to be great for working with just about any size safety chain. The opening's large enough to accommodate larger chains and thin enough here around the wall for smaller chains. And this hitch features a 300-pound tongue weight, and that's the force going down on top of the receiver, and a 2,000-pound gross towing capacity, and that's how much it can pull behind it. It's not weighted for a weight distribution system, and you do want to verify in your owner's manual that your vehicle is not going to exceed its towing capacities. And now I've got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on accessories. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube, it measures about 13 3/4 inches. This is important when determining if you need a drop, rise, or raise shank on any of your accessories. And from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, it measures about 5 inches. This is important when determining if any of your folding accessories can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. We'll begin our installation here at the back of the vehicle with our trunk open. We're going to need to remove the access panels on both the driver's and passenger's side. The driver's side simply pulls down, and our passenger side simply pulls out. You'll just have to get behind it and just tug it out. We'll remove this plastic nut here. Now, it is pretty tight, so you may have a difficult time removing it. There are some holes, so you can slide a screwdriver through to help kind of get it started. Then we'll remove the nut on the stud located here. We'll now remove the taillight assembly. You want to take a trim panel remover tool, get it behind the taillight, and just push it rearward. That'll release it. We'll now disconnect our electrical connector located here. There's a tab you'll push in so you can pull it out. That release tab is located right there. And we'll set this assembly aside and repeat the exact same procedures on the other side. Now we're on our inside fender well area on our driver's side. We're going to need to remove 3 Torx screws using a T25 Torx socket. Then remove the other 2 located here and here. We'll then remove the 3 Torx bolts located here on the bottom using the same T25 Torx socket. Then you'll want to remove the push pin located on your passenger side. Take your trim panel remover tool or a flat bladed screwdriver, pop out the center of the tab, and then you can remove the entire pin. We can now remove our fascia. So starting at one side, peel back from our fender liner here and just start working your way around. When you get to the pin, you'll need to remove the pin. You can use a flat bladed screwdriver to get underneath of it. Just kind of pop it up and we'll set it aside. You can now separate it from the pin. Now we can do the same thing on our other side. We're going to peel it back from our side where our fender liner starts. When we get to the pin, we'll pop that up. Once you've got it loose on both sides, we can take our fascia off and set it aside where it won't get damaged. We'll need to remove our spare tire. We'll lift up on this panel. We'll take this out, set it aside. We can unscrew our spare tire, pull it out, set it aside, and then we can lift this cover off. Now we'll need to remove the 4 buckles located in your trunk. There's 2 on each side. If you lift up on the lever on the buckle there, you'll find 2 Torx screws that we're going to remove with a T30 Torx socket. We'll now repeat that for the remaining 3 buckles. Now we'll need to remove the trim panel located here at the back. To do this, the panel does just pull straight up, but to make it easier, I do recommend you peel back your weather stripping here because it does kind of overlap it, and it's already a really tight fit to pull this thing out. Another benefit of pulling that back is that you can pull it from both ends because it goes straight up, so you can pull it from the bottom while also prying it here in the front. Just work your way across. and we can set that aside. Now we're able to easily lift up on our side here. Now it is possible that you could just take out just this clip and lift it up and get to it, you know, with a wrench or something. But to make things much easier, you can pull off those extra panels. We'll take out this bolt with a 16mm socket. We won't be reinstalling it, so we'll just set that aside. Now we'll prepare our bolt to be installed. Slide one of the large flat washers on the head of the bolt, and then we'll install it. We'll tighten this bolt down with a 17mm socket. Then we'll repeat that same step on the other side. Then torque your hardware to the specifications in your instructions. Next, we'll be lowering down our exhaust. Before we do that, we want to make sure we secure it so it won't fall too far and cause any damage. We're going to take a strap, we're going to go over our suspension, and we're going to hook it in place. Once you've got this tight, we can lower it down later if we need to get more out of our exhaust, but this will keep us safe from causing any damage. We'll then lower down the exhaust by removing the bolt here on our exhaust hanger using a 13mm socket. Then on the other side of our muffler, we'll find another hanger we'll need to remove as well. This one also removes with a 13mm socket. You can then adjust your strap as you need to, so that way you can lower it down. Next, we'll remove the heat shield on this side by removing the 4 nuts with a 10mm socket. There's one located here, one located here, and 2 more located there. Now your heat shield will come down. You might have to peel it off with some of the studs. It is pretty sharp, so using a flat-bladed screwdriver is a pretty good idea. We're not going to need to cut a hole in our material here. We went ahead and marked our hole per the illustration provided in our instructions. Now, in order to get this hole, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could use a cutoff wheel, you could drill a hole, you could use some tin snips after you drill a hole. We're going to use a large socket and a smaller socket as a punch to just punch right on through. And now we've got our hole. We'll then take the fish wire that comes in our kit. We're going to take the straight end, push it up through the large opening here, go back to the smaller opening here towards the front of the vehicle. We need to bring it down through that hole. We'll then take one of the long spacers, slide it over our fish wire, and thread our carriage bolt onto the coiled end. We'll then push our spacer up into the frame, followed by our carriage bolt. We're going to pull it down through the hole here. To feed our other bolt in, we're going to take the spacer first and place it over our coiled end, thread the carriage bolt on our coiled end, and we'll push them both up into the frame one at a time. And pull it back down. And we need to remove this coil wire so we can reuse it, and we're going to feed carriage bolts in on our other side using the same procedures we did on this side. Now reinstall your heat shield and grab a buddy to help you lift your hitch up. Then we'll thread a flange nut onto each of the carriage bolts. And once you get a carriage bolt started on each side, the hitch will hold itself into position, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. Both of the carriage bolts use the flange nuts. It'll be the same on each side. And the longer bolts that we threaded down in an earlier step, we'll use a spacer plate. This is the square spacer plate, followed by a flat washer, a lock washer, and a regular nut. You'll install the same hardware in the same positions on the other side. We'll tighten down the bolts with the large spacer using a 17mm socket. And we'll tighten down our carriage bolts using a 19mm socket. Then torque all of your hardware to the specifications found in your instructions. I've already marked out the area on our bumper that we're going to need to cut out. So I'm going to use a cutoff wheel and we're going to cut this section out here. You can now clean up the edges using a razor knife or a file. You can now put your exhaust back up, reinstall your hanger. Now you might notice when you put it back up, it's a little tight. It does rub a little bit against your exhaust. If you have any exhaust tape, which is like a thicker Kevlar, I would recommend that you put some down your muffler to help act as a vibration dampener between your muffler and your hitch. Then reinstall the other exhaust hanger on the other side of the muffler. Now that our exhaust is all the way reinstalled, we can take the strap back off. Now once you get your fascia set back into position, we're going to need to reinstall those pins that we removed. You want to make sure the little door that's located here is shut. This does flap open. This will guide it down through both pins and push it back into place. Do the same thing on the other side. Now reinstall all the hardware for your bumper and reassemble everything in your trunk. Included in your kit, you'll get a rubber trim piece that you can place around the portion that you cut out of your bumper. This will help just protect it and give it a little bit nicer look. And that completes our installation of EcoHitch's hidden trailer hitch receiver on our 2014 Audi A4.